Welcome to Hockey Nights in Vegas, episode 107. My name is Eddie Rivkin. I'm joined, as always, by Chris Chapman of Fox Sports Las Vegas and the Vegas Golden Knights pre- and post-game show. This episode, like all the others, is brought to you by the Las Vegas Advisor at lasvegasadvisor.com, by my very good friend Dr. John Pierce at agelessforever.net, and by Joe Riccio and Boris at marathonlawgroup.com. Chap, I'm tired. I'm exhausted. The regular season is over.
Thank fucking God.
But can you believe it? I mean, does it seem like, we started watching exhibition games in September.
Yeah.
And we're in the middle of April. Tax day has passed.
Mm-hmm.
It went really kind of fast, right? I think that this is our 32nd episode of the season.
That would make sense, because when I think about it, I break the season up into segments, and you have basically the segment before Thanksgiving, first, 22, 24 games, whatever it is. Then you have that Thanksgiving to what turned out to be the Four Nations face-off pause. And then you had the break until now. And when you think about it and you break it down into segments, it doesn't matter. You could break it into 4 segments, however you want to do it. It goes by fast. And I was thinking about it the other day because we were on the pause about 2 months ago. My wife and I, we did a nice road trip. We took the dogs. We went to White Sands, New Mexico, and we went to Santa Fe and spent some time in New Mexico and drove down into Texas and all that good shit. But we left the day after the Super Bowl. It was like 2 fucking months ago. Over 2 months ago now.
I'm glad.
Yeah.
It's a slog, and we had a lot of fun, and we were blessed. We had Nick Waugh. We had Coach Bruce Cassidy,
which was awesome.
We had Ashley Weiss, right? But I'm ready.
Well,
I'm ready for every other day till whenever.
I think it depends what team you follow, right, or what team you're around. Because for this team, we've known basically since the Four Nations that they were going to be a playoff team.
Right.
So it's just a matter of, for the Golden Knights, it's just a matter of seeding and home ice. Who are they going to play? But if you look at a team like Montreal or Columbus or Calgary, like their season, for Montreal, their season literally went to game 82. For Columbus, their season went to game 81. Calgary, game
79-ish.
Yeah. So like for those teams, every game the last 2 months of the season has mattered. For Vegas, the only thing that really mattered for these guys was who are they going to play? Were they going to win the Pacific? And things like that. So
our drama was different.
Right.
We didn't have the look at the calendar running out of games drama.
Right.
We had the occasional shitty stretch of play.
Yeah.
We had the 2-game thing with Edmonton and Winnipeg where they shit the bed.
Yeah.
We had some adversity.
There were
not like you said, not like Montreal, who up until the late in the third period last night didn't know what their destiny. And I feel terrible for Columbus.
Yeah, that would have been a great story.
Right, but Montreal,
that's a great story.
Also a great story.
And listen, we'll get to them, but I'm telling you, do yourself a favor. Look at their roster. Not just you, Eddie. I'm talking about people watching, listening. Look at their roster and look at how fucking young that team is.
Yeah.
They're so far ahead of schedule, I think. And you look at like Patrick Laine, Nick Suzuki, and those guys have been in the league like 6-7 years. For Laine, a little bit longer. But most of that roster,
kids,
they're like 23, 22. Caden Gooley scored 2 goals for them last night. I don't even think he's 22. He might be 23. So it's a good story. It would have been great for Columbus to get in.
Yes.
I think it would have been a better story for Columbus to get into Montreal, but I'm excited for the Canadians.
I agree. So let's tie a bow on 82 games. 50 up, 22 down, 10 overtime losses, 110 points, third overall in the NHL. Second on the power play, 28.3%, 1.1% behind Winnipeg. 26th on the PK at 75.7%. Jack Eichel, 8th in the league in scoring, 28 goals, 66 assists, 94 points, plus 32. Braden McNabb, the unsung, untalked about stalwart of the mountains of D that they have. Second in the NHL, plus 42.
That's ridiculous.
That's That's insane for a defenseman
who doesn't score, by the way.
Yeah, I think he's had 5.
He had 5 goals, which ties a career high for him.
Right.
And I think he had, I don't think he had an assist last night, but I think he finished with 20 points. So for the guy, like what's amazing is like I was looking to see like defensemen, like what some of the best seasons all time are. And like Ray Bourque had some, and Bobby fucking Orr had I think he had like a plus 124. But then you look at how many points the guy had.
Right.
And he basically had 120 points. So for a defenseman who doesn't score, for a guy to be plus 40.
And play all hard minutes.
Yes. Like he's out there against the best lines in the league, night in, night out.
Kills penalties.
Yeah, he does it all.
The whole shebang. So let's go back to the preview episode that we did for this season when we sort of talked about expectations and things like that. Not personal, not offense, defense, special teams. We're not going to do a report card for the wrap-up. Let's just take it the whole. Did the Golden Knights overachieve, do about what we expected them to do, or underachieve?
Well, they certainly didn't underachieve.
Yeah, I don't even know why I bothered. That was kind of stupid to even say that.
I'd have to go back. But they probably slightly overachieved, I think, based on my expectations. Like, I don't remember exactly what the point total was that I figured they were going to have.
It wasn't 110.
Probably not. It was probably around 104, something like that. Which, listen, 3 games, that's 3 wins. That's a big deal. Because you get to 50 wins, that's a pretty big milestone. And you look at the history of this team, not only when they've won the Pacific Division, but I believe they've won 50 games twice.
I think this was the third year.
The third time. Year 1, went to Stanley Cup final. Stanley Cup winning year, and now this year.
Right.
So
a lot of omen.
I mean, there's a
lot.
Every time they win the Pacific, they make a deep run. So I would say that they probably slightly, without knowing off the top of my head exactly what my prediction was, I would say they probably slightly overachieved because I don't think I had them at 110 points. And I think I probably had them finishing second in the Pacific behind Edmonton.
I'm pretty sure everybody in the free world had Edmonton, right?
It was easy to jump on that bandwagon.
Yes, it was easy to jump on the bandwagon, Chris, but we've always known that they're suspect, right? We've always known that they're incredibly top heavy. We've always known that their D is always questionable at very best, and we always know that their garbage is goaltending. Their goaltending is garbage.
Yeah, Stuart Skinner.
And listen, they're all trying, and it's fun because we're doing this a day before. Everybody else is like doing their previews tomorrow.
Right.
The NHL Network, everybody's doing their whole thing, but like fuck that. We've got to do it today so we can release it tomorrow. And it's funny listening to the Canadian broadcast folks on like the NHL Network. They're like pumping Stuart Skinner's tires.
No,
they're just like he got him to one period away and blah blah. I'm like fuck you. Just
there was a lot that went right last year for that team, starting with the Golden Knights, kind of faltering down the stretch.
Right, and not having the same line, having a new lineup for the first time.
Right.
In game 1 and drawing Dallas.
And I think in Edmonton's case, we probably didn't make a big enough deal about it at the time. But losing Philip Broberg and Dylan Holloway,
a lot.
That really hurt them. Like I understand they're going to get Evander Kane back. I don't fucking care. To me, he's not a good player anymore. He was a good player when he was in his prime.
Yes.
And he was an asshole.
Yes.
Which is fine. I don't mind that type of player. A good player on the edge, fine with me. But I don't think he's a difference maker for them. I think losing Holloway and losing Broberg,
bigger.
Dylan Holloway scored some really big fucking goals for that team in the playoffs last year. I like and I think he's hurt for the Blues. He may not be back for their first round series against Winnipeg, but he's a good young player, and the trajectory was moving the needle up for him, not going down. It's a big loss that we didn't really think about as a big loss at the time. They really did nothing at the trade deadline. They're probably not going to have Matthias Ekholm for the first round of this playoffs against LA.
I believe that's already confirmed, in fact.
So we know that McDavid and Draisaitl have kind of been banged up a little bit the second half of the season. They'll be fine. How fine? I don't know.
All right.
But we'll get to them.
We'll get to them.
But I would say they did not. That's a team that failed to meet expectations.
I think when you look at the whole of things, you have to say that the Golden Knights exceeded expectations. And I'll just throw out the points thing, right?
Right.
Highest rated power play they've ever had.
Best
right?
on the road?
Best on the road.
They probably finished number one in the league if Eichel and Hurdle don't get hurt.
And rest the last few. Right. If they have to compete down the stretch, the last 10 games of the season for something of significance,
they would have been.
They would have probably been one in the league. I think the stat was by 30 or 40, least number of penalties taken.
Yeah.
And the least number.
I think they broke the record.
Yeah. So it's absurd. They're like the Lady Bing of teams.
Yeah. The
right?
least penalized team in the league and a team that does not get penalties called in their favor.
And then if you talk about, if we go back to the first episode, the preview, we talk about where are we really concerned? Goals. Goals missing, goals replaced.
What the fuck do we know?
Right. Tomas Hurdle found his groove. We knew Pavel Dorofeyev could score.
We didn't think he was going to score 35 goals.
Right. Brett Howden.
23?
Keegan Colasar. Nick Waugh tied his career with 5. Yep. And in the biggest news, with his record-setting first NHL goal, Cole Schwint, ladies and gentlemen, set a career high with 1.
I love that. I love it.
Listen, you know what I love more than that? Did you see the reception on the bench?
They love the kid. Yeah.
Right? You see William Karlsson patting him on the head like a little puppy, right? And sitting next to Jack Eichel, right, who's ribbing him. And you see Braden McNabb go get the puck out of the net. They wanted that for that kid.
Right. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. I think the fans who show up to practice every day, they see that he brings a light mood.
He's a hardworking.
And he's always, every time he walks through because he always walks through the locker room.
Right.
He's
smiling.
always jovial.
Yeah.
Like, to me, he's one of those guys who understands where he is in his career. And he maybe similar to Paul Cotter in the way that you understand what your role is on this team. Like, Paul Cotter had to go through that where he was in and out of the lineup. He got hurt a little bit early in his career. But he was always lighthearted, always fun and joking with his teammates and well-liked by the veterans.
And in the record book, it could look just like a missile wrister from the top of the slot.
Who fucking cares?
Right? Just like a major league player's first hit is a bunt.
Yeah.
It could have been a rocket off the base of the wall.
Nobody knows.
Right.
You're that one guy in Major League who has one career hit.
Right.
Who fucking cares how you got on base?
So congratulations, Cole Schwint. It was fantastic to see that.
It was a nice shot, too.
It was a nice shot. I don't care that it was a meaningless game. I don't care anything. No. I am happy for the kid.
He scored one more goal in the NHL than I ever have or will, and a lot of other people.
So I think if we asked Butch, exceed, over-exceed, I think he would even say a little more than maybe what I thought.
Maybe I'll ask him tomorrow.
Oh, yeah, we're going to practice. We might have a chance to ask him.
Yeah.
That's a damn good question.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll ask him.
Yeah.
I get one good question in a year. I save up all my questioning mojo.
Yeah. I'll be curious to see.
All right.
I'm real curious to see what his opinion on it is.
So we should talk about the MVP, but there's no doubt it's Eichel.
It's absolutely Jack Eichel.
Okay, but if it's not Eichel, who is it?
Hurdle.
Okay, fair enough.
Who would you have said?
Probably Dorofeyev.
Ooh.
Just because of the sheer elevation from. I mean, they talked about it in the postgame. Paul missed the net or whatever his name is. The 35 goals, less than $2 million salary.
That's pretty. Yeah.
So that qualifies as, to me, the biggest surprise, for sure. I mean, second is the accumulation of career highs that we just talked about. Colasar, Waugh,
it never
Howden.
fails with this team.
It doesn't matter. They could lose 100 goals and. The ghost of William Carrier would come back and score 30.
Yeah, it's and every year they're really good. They have things like this happen for them.
Yeah,
like you look at the year they won the Cup. It was guys like Michael Amadio, Chandler Stevenson having career years. Like Chandler Stevenson, I know he probably didn't live up to a $6.5 million a year contract in Seattle. He still had a pretty decent season.
I think he led them in points. I think he was close to 60 maybe.
Which I guess if you're the Kraken and you finish in next to last in the division, you're probably like, all right, maybe he is worth $6.5 million.
Well,
because where are you without him?
To them,
yeah,
right.
But
not here,
not here. But that year, Aiden Hill stepped up, had an unbelievable year. Laurent Brossoit, when he was in there, was really fucking good. I mean, they had guys step up and have good years, and here we are again. You went through the list. We don't need to do it again, but
right. So the breakout star has to be Dorofeyev,
right?
With a very honorable mention to Howden.
I think so. Brett Howden.
Extremely honorable mention to Howden, right?
I was on the pregame show yesterday, and I was asked about the guy who I think exceeded expectations the most. And
that's a tough.
I say this half-heartedly, but not half-heartedly. Like, seriously. It would be easy to say Pavel Dorofeyev, but I said years ago he was going to be a 30-goal scorer in the NHL. I was kind of poo-pooed by some other guys on the row, but I firmly believed, based on what I saw of his game in the AHL and what I saw from the video of him in the KHL and when he was a young kid, that he was going to be a guy who could score a lot of goals in this league. I didn't think he was going to score 35 goals in his first full season in the league. But I said Brett Howden was the guy who was the breakout star for me because I think he was a guy, he was a very high draft pick, first-round pick of the New York Rangers. He got to play in the MSG, but I don't know if he ever really lived up to the expectations, right? I
don't think he ever really got a chance either.
Well, here's the other thing. I didn't know this about him. You look at his like, I don't know if it's Wikipedia or whatever. He didn't play a lot of games in the A.
No.
Like, he pretty much went straight from juniors to the NHL. That's a big,
as a 19-year-old.
To play on Broadway with the Rangers in that building.
Big stress.
That franchise. There's a lot of pressure on a guy you look at some of their first-round picks over the years, some of them have not exactly, like Lafreniere, good player.
Kakko, gone.
Right? So I don't think that's an easy place to play. Brett Howden's come here. He wasn't expected to be a superstar, but he's kind of grown into his role. We know he works his ass off in the offseason. And, the thing I mentioned with Ryan yesterday was I said when they signed him that it was a steal. And if I was him, I would have waited until the end of the season to sign my contract because I was on track to have a 20-goal season. You look at what they've got him signed for next year, it's highway robbery. Like, if he would have hit the open market, he might have doubled. Okay. Knowing what the salary cap is next year.
But he got security.
Which is good.
He got tax-free money.
He loves living here.
His
family likes it.
He got a brand new little baby. Well, not brand new now, probably 6 months. Two, right? Yeah. So, listen, I understand the player wanting to take security. It's sort of the opposite of Brandon Saad taking a risk on himself and forfeiting out that dough to become a free agent. Howden is a younger player, right? When his contract is up, I think he'll only be 26, maybe 27. So if he continues to produce, his big raise will be the next contract.
Right.
Not this. This is sort of like the bridge deal. This is, son, go ahead and buy a house.
Yep.
Right? Let's lay down some roots. We love you. We want you here. We know your family, right? So I get why he did that, but you're right. The contract is absolutely a steal. I look at Brett Howden almost the flip of Jack Eichel. And I know that's going to be really obtuse, but when I tell you what I'm thinking, it'll completely make sense to you. What was the flaw? What did everybody say the flaw in Jack Eichel's game when he got here was?
Defense. Nobody
ever questioned Howden's defense. They didn't know if he could score.
Right.
Right? So in that aspect, Howden's been a great 200-foot player. He just hasn't had the touch in the offense. He's added the touch in the offense. Eichel's always been a scoring machine, was always questionable on defense, had the chat on the Vineyard. We talked about that ad nauseum. Now is a legitimate Selke candidate, even though he probably won't get nominated.
Right. I think he may get nominated. I don't think he's going to win.
So, I think, looking back to September, whatever it was, the first exhibition game of the year, to today, which is April the 17th or 18th. I don't remember exactly which.
I don't know. Does it even say on my watch?
But
No.
but
Snoopy, everybody.
I think that they had a season, like Bruce said, it reminded him of the Cup year. They had some adversity. They lost Jack for a few games. They lost Shea for 20-something. They lost William Carlson for 20-something. The kids came up. They did their jobs, right? I can't remember the name of the kid that I liked so much.
Lavoie?
No, the other one. Anyway, not Lazinski.
Oh, Tanner Lazinski.
Lazinski,
Yeah.
right? I mean, every year it's the same MO. Somebody gets hurt, and they rail about how bad the prospect pool is in Vegas, yet they call up kids. Kids do job. Players get healthy. Golden Knights win. Golden Knights win division, and now we're on to the next chapter. Stanley Cup playoffs start on Saturday. They start on Sunday for the Vegas Golden Knights. We now found out that Easter Sunday dinner will be at the Fortress, where we'll be enjoying jelly beans, sour
Gummy worms.
Lots
of popcorn for me.
Popcorn and peanuts. It's
I hate the fucking start time.
It's
for a variety of reasons.
And there, I don't know if you had a chance, because I know you were busy before you got here. One of those series doesn't start until Tuesday.
Which one?
I want to say it's the Florida series. They have scheduling conflicts all over. I mean, it's a
yeah, because a lot of these cities, you have NBA teams in the same market.
It's a mess. Right?
And you know what? Here's my philosophy now. Now that I know that, this series should have waited till Tuesday to start.
I agree 100%.
For the reason that the ice is going to be fucking shit on Sunday night. And it's very possible it might be shit on Tuesday too.
Yeah, because Monday Night Raw, for those of you not in Vegas, WrestleMania is here in Vegas this weekend.
Which will be the same fucking time as Game 1. Pretty much.
Yeah. Yeah, it'll be right in the heart of the main card of night 2. Yeah, so listen, if you're planning on going to the game, come early and expect to be there really, really late, because it's going to be a shit show trying to get out of those two arenas. So we're going to have a contest.
All
right. We're going to share the contest. We're going to open up to our friends in the Facebook groups, the subscribers, the whole 9 yards. It's a simple, easy competition. There's 8 series in the first round. Chapman and I are going to pick our winners right now for all the world to see. All you have to do, you can comment on the Facebook group. You can comment on our Facebook page. You can comment on the YouTube page. We want to know who you think are going to win the series and how many games it's going to take. The winner, dinner with us. We ain't guaranteeing playoff tickets or any of that other shit. So just fucking hold your fucking water.
Be nice.
About that. Be nice, but probably not.
We can't guarantee that.
Right. But dinner with these two handsome bastards is the prize.
And listen, if you've got season tickets,
right,
that works.
So we'll have this contest go as long as the Golden Knights are in, because none of these people will give a fuck if they get eliminated before winning the Stanley Cup.
Yeah, listen, I don't give a fuck either.
Right.
I have zero interest in continuing this if they lose.
So let's do the Eastern Conference first.
Okay.
I'm going to go first.
Well, first, I think we should get a word in from.
Oh, that's a really good idea, because we have been rambling. Let's get a word in from Dr. John Pierce at Ageless Forever, and we'll be right back to start the prediction aspect of the playoff preview show, Hockey Nights in Vegas.
So if there's a little bit too much whip in the shaft of your hockey stick, and you want to be able to hit the back of the net, here's your answer, but I'm not going to tell you anything about it, because I'm going to let my good friend Dr. Pierce tell you exactly what this bad boy is, and prepare to be amazed.
This is the Phoenix Pro. This is a home unit to deliver extracorporeal, I call it sound wave therapy. The technical term is shock wave therapy.
Here's where we get to the fun stuff, kids.
Okay? And they applied it to their genitalia, and they found that, yes, indeed, it improves blood flow. When we talk about, male genitalia, what is an erection? It is a blood flow issue. So if you're having issues, and you've gone to see your doctor, you've had your testosterone balanced, and you're doing those things, and it's working great. If you're finding that you're using a medication like Viagra, Cialis, something like that, and you're finding less and less effect, That means that the blood flow isn't as good. Something like this can help to mitigate that issue.
So let me break this down for you in layman's terms. If your junk is more like a pool noodle than a pool cue, it's going to make your junk hard. Dr. John Pierce, Ageless Forever, www.agelessforever.net. Don't be shy. Send a message. The first consultation is free. You'll meet with Dr. Pierce personally. You'll have the ability to share whatever it is you want to share. This bad boy works. So, something for you to think about. www.agelessforever.net. Send a message, take advantage of the free consultation, and let's get you to be the best you can be.
All right, we're back. Conference.
All right.
Let's start with the Toronto Maple Leafs and the Ottawa Senators. I'm going to go first, right? I go first in the East.
Go for it.
Ottawa.
Ooh.
7 games. Linus Ullmark. Brady Tkachuk. I think the enormity of the pressure of Toronto playing it. Could you imagine the pressure on them playing at home in Game 7 when Ottawa doesn't even think that they're supposed to be there? So I'm going right. I'm getting off the chalk road right now. Give me Ottawa in 7.
Wow. Yeah. See, I'm going the other side. I think Toronto. I think they could make a deep run this year. There's nobody really talking about them.
Do you know the last time they won two series in a Stanley Cup playoffs?
Yeah, it was like fucking 93 or something.
No, it was when they won the Stanley Cup. They haven't won 2 rounds since.
1967.
Just so you know.
I thought they went to the Western Conference final or Eastern Conference Finals when they had Felix Potvin.
No, haven't won 2 rounds since they won the cup. All right, so you're going to go with the Maple Leafs because you just think they're sailing under the radar?
I think so. Yeah, I think they're kind of under the radar a bit. I don't think there's at least from the chatter I hear, they're not even the most talked about team in Canada. And I think a lot of people talk about Edmonton and Winnipeg. And listen, for Ottawa, I did not expect, I'll say this right off the bat, I did not expect Ottawa and Montreal to both be in the playoffs. If you would have told me one of them,
maybe
I would have said, okay, maybe Ottawa beats out Detroit and Buffalo to finally be that team to take the step forward. I thought it was going to be Detroit and the Rangers. It wasn't. Ottawa, they're a good team. They have good goaltending. They've got some good young players. Jake Sanderson, I really, really like. I just don't think they're ready. I'm going to go with the Maple Leafs in 6.
Okay, so I'm on Ottawa, skipping the whole chalk thing and going right for the bombshell upset at the top of round 1. And Chapman has got the Maple Leafs in Game 6. The next series is really intriguing. The defending Stanley Cup champion Florida Panthers against the Tampa Bay Lightning. This is going to be the equivalent of Dallas and Colorado in the West, in my opinion. I think Florida just has too much. If Tkachuk comes back healthy, it's an unbelievable goaltending thing. Bob against the other, it's going to be maybe not the highest scoring series, I think, in the first round, but I think it's one of those series where the ice is really going to be the smallest, and it's going to be mean, and it's going to be spirited, and there's going to be a lot of super physical play. I just feel like the defending Stanley Cup champs just have a little tiny bit more depth and a little bit more mojo, but it's going to go all the way. So I'm going to give me the Panthers on home ice. Oh, they're not on home ice.
No.
Doesn't matter. I'm taking the Florida Panthers in 7 games.
I'm on the other side of this one too. I think Florida's played a lot of hockey the last couple of years. It's going to catch up to them. They've already dealt with some injuries. Look, even when they got Brad Marchand, he was hurt. Tkachuk, we don't know how close to being 100% he is. I like Vasilevsky over Bobrovsky in a Game 7. I think Tampa Bay wins this in 7 and eliminates the defending Stanley Cup champions in the first round.
Okay. I like the fact that we haven't agreed on anything yet. And
we're going to get there, I'm sure.
Yeah. And for the record, Chris sent me his predictions this morning. He has not seen mine. I don't even remember them. I just sent the predictions to our good friend Tom Golly in Nashville, who's going to provide the graphic with all our final picks. So I think we're doing good. Washington Capitals, upstart Montreal Canadiens. It's a nice run for Montreal. This is the round that Washington doesn't really get challenged too much. I mean, the kids are going to play loose and free and fun and everything like that. But this is going to be the juggernaut Washington Capitals continuing their role. I don't think Montreal is going to get steamrolled. I think they're going to probably win a couple of games. So I'm going to take the Washington Capitals in 6.
I'm on the other side of this one too.
Oh, your big boy upset is the 1-8 on the East.
I think Montreal doesn't give a fuck about Alexander Ovechkin. They're not supposed to be there. They have nothing to lose. There is zero pressure on the Montreal Canadiens. Here's the other thing. The Washington Capitals have faced zero adversity all season.
Agreed.
You might say, Ovechkin breaking his leg. They didn't really miss a beat. They have faced zero adversity. I think the first moment that team and that goalie faces some adversity, I think they will crumble. And I think they're going to face adversity in this series. I like the Canadiens because they have zero to lose. They don't give a fuck about how good the season the Capitals have had. They're just going to go in. They're going to play loose. Look, they've been riding high for 2 weeks. Watching that scene with them clinching that playoff spot last night, it was almost like they won
the cup.
A play. Yes.
Not quite the cup.
Which I understand. Listen, in Montreal, that's saying a lot. But this is a team that hasn't won a championship in almost 30 years.
The last championship,
they're the last
I think,
Canadian team to win.
94, I think.
So I think they're going to play a great series. And I like a lot of their young players. Listen, you've got some guys who've got experience. Nick Suzuki's been to a cup final. So I think they've got nothing to lose. I like that aspect. And I think, like I said, the moment the Washington Capitals, the other thing is, I don't know how much I trust their system in the playoffs for over a 7-game series. If it's not this series that gets them, it's going to be the next one.
I think all your points are well made. I think that, in my opinion, Lane Hudson is the rookie of the year.
He's been fucking
right,
good.
60 assists as a rookie.
So good.
But he has one significant disadvantage. Well, he has two. One, he's never been there. He's a rookie.
Right.
But he's a small defenseman.
Yeah.
And
he could have trouble.
And Washington plays a big, heavy game. Yes, they have Nick Suzuki. They have some people. Their goaltending can be suspect. But then again, I mean, we're not going to smash the former Golden Knights goaltender because we're on doing our own thing. But I think that I agree with you that it catches up to them, but I believe it catches up to them next series. So how many games for Montreal to eliminate the number 1 seed?
They got to do it in 7. They're not winning. Listen, if they win the series, it's going to be in 7. They're not going to win in like 5 or 6. It's got to be 7 games for Montreal.
Okay, so
they go on the road and do it.
You got them to go into Washington. So you think the pressure on Washington in Game 7 is the one in the East overwhelms them, and the kids play free and get it done?
We've seen it before. We saw it with the Tampa Bay Lightning a few years ago. They blew through the Eastern Conference on their way to the President's Trophy. I know the Capitals didn't win the President's Trophy, but, they faced zero adversity all season. They got into it with the upstart Columbus Blue Jackets who swept their ass. So.
All right. Well, I'm surprised and really happy about it because the contest is going to certainly provide a clear winner after round 1 between you and I.
Yes.
The last series of the Eastern Conference, the Carolina Hurricanes versus Chris Chapman's mighty New Jersey Devils. Unfortunately, the Devils are not going to overcome Quinn Hughes, whichever Hughes it was.
Jack Hughes.
Jack Hughes. He's too good, and they're not good enough without him. And they've got some other injuries. Thankfully, their stalwart Paul Cotter will be back for his suspension for Game 1. Fan of the podcast, Paul Cotter. Hey, buddy. Good luck to you.
2 games.
Yeah. But that injury completely devastates them. Dougie Hamilton is just back from injury, played his first game after missing 8. They're just too far out of sorts, and the guy that is the captain who calms them is nowhere to be seen. So unfortunately, your Devils are going out in 5.
That's funny because I have Carolina winning it in 5 as well. Listen, I obviously watch a lot of the New Jersey Devils, and this is a team that really hasn't. They had that great series in Europe to start the season.
Mm-hmm.
They looked really good the first maybe 4 weeks of the season, and then they've basically been a 500 hockey team since. They weren't great prior to Jack Hughes being injured. They weren't great after. In fact, you look at the records and it's almost pretty similar. Like I think they actually have 1 or 2 more losses the previous 20 or the 20 games post Jack Hughes injury but they weren't exactly lighting the world on fire.
Right.
When they've been locked into that 3 seed in their division for it seems like since Christmas. They're not a good team. I'm hoping with some time Sheldon Keefe will get it turned around. But, they've dealt with some injuries to Markstrom. Obviously, Jack Hughes, Nico Heischer's missed some time. Dougie Hamilton's missed a bunch of time. Their young guys haven't really quite stepped up. And it'll come. Simone Nemec.
Just won't come this year.
Yeah, so I think, a season that started with a lot of promise is going to end with a
a thud.
Yeah.
Bit of a thud.
Disappointment for New Jersey. But I wouldn't be shocked if they got swept. But I think they'll win a game. Maybe game 3, and then they'll lose the next 2.
All right, so let's wrap up the East. I've got Ottawa. Chap's got Toronto. I've got Florida. Chap's got Tampa. I've got Washington. Chap's got Montreal. And we both agree Carolina's going out with a thud. So that's the first 4 picks of the competition. Join us. Comment, share. Let us know what you think. Post the comments somewhere. We're going to find them. Everybody who gets in on this is going to get a shot at a really good Mexican food dinner. So before we get to the Western Conference, let's hear from Joe Riccio and Boris at the Marathon Law Group.
I'm here with Joe Riccio from Marathon Law Group. And Joe, sometimes when couples go through divorce, one of the partners will deprive the other partner of visitation with their children. Obviously, this is never a good situation for anybody. So what steps can someone take to maybe deal with this type of issue if it arises?
Well, thanks, Chris. One of the most important things you can do is make sure that you have a court order. And in the state of Nevada, over the last several years, the Nevada legislature has moved towards involving both parents and finding it best for children to be involved, or parents to be involved with both children equally, both on the legal custody and the physical custody side of things. So if you're being denied time or deprived time, whether it's in a court order or not, you definitely want to take measures to prove or at least show the court that you've been making those overt efforts and that the other side has been depriving you.
So maybe like keeping a calendar or something like that and marking when you have visitation with the child, maybe marking when you should and if you don't get visitation on that particular day.
Yeah, absolutely. Not only could you keep a calendar log, but there's applications that the parties can get into without the court for free that allow them to communicate that the court can look at when that time is right. And then there's other mechanisms that you can engage in as well, such as text messaging and emailing and making sure you're keeping those records.
All right, we're back. We're on to the Western Conference first round matchups. You're going to go first this time. We'll start with the Winnipeg Jets, the President's Trophy winning Winnipeg Jets, the absolute mortal lock, Vezina Trophy winner Connor Hellebuyck, Winnipeg Jets, the Jennings Trophy winner, right?
Pretty much all by himself, right?
Well, not pretty much all by himself. In order for a goalie to qualify for the Jennings, he has to play 25 games. So Connor Hellebuyck, congratulations on the Jennings. You did it all by yourself because he's got all the wins, and Comrie only had 20 starts. So normally it's
one against Vegas.
So normally it's a goaltending pairs award, but this year it is the Connor Hellebuyck award.
That's wild.
The upstart St. Louis Blues fired their coach early.
Yeah.
Brought in Jim Montgomery. It was a little bit bumpy. ran off 12 wins in a row to put them right in the mix. Had a little bit of bump, a little bit of this, a little bit of that, but they got there, and they're in against the President's Trophy winning Winnipeg Jets. Go first.
I got Winnipeg in 6. St. Louis is a good story. I think if Winnipeg can survive the first 2 games, meaning they don't lose one of the 2 home games, I think they'll cruise in the series. I picked 6 because I think St. Louis can certainly win a game or 2 in the series. I just don't think they're good enough to beat this Winnipeg team. There's always pressure in that President's Trophy team. You don't know what you're going to get from them. You don't know if they're going to go out in the first round or if they're going to
make a run.
What we do know is that they generally don't win the Stanley Cup. So
we do know that.
For Winnipeg, it's not a matter of if they win the Stanley Cup. It's a matter of when they're eliminated from the Stanley Cup playoffs. I don't think it's going to be in this first round. I think they have enough to get through. But I guess Nikolai Ehlers is dealing with something. He always seems to miss the playoffs, which is unfortunate because he's a really good player.
So you got the peg in 6.
I got the peg in 6. I think just a little too much to overcome for St. Louis. It's a nice story. They've come back down to earth after that 12-game win streak. And they were playing for something. They were playing for seeding, and they were playing to hold off the Flames, and they lost a couple games that they probably should have won. So I think you're happy if you're Winnipeg that win streak is over, because generally following a win streak like that, a team goes back to being what they were.
I have 2 words for you. Jordan Binnington.
Oof. If it gets to Game 7, all bets are off.
Big game Jordan, not to be confused with big game James Neal. Game 7, Stanley Cup Finals, Boston Garden. Finals of the Four Nations tournament against the United States. He has the ability to steal not only a game, but a series. And he's proved it. Now, I don't like the guy. I think he's a dick. He's clearly a mental patient, right? But he has done something that the great Connor Hellebuck has not done. Won in the playoffs. And I think that I read that Colton Parayko is going to be back for St. Louis, which will be a huge addition for them. Jim Montgomery has been to the dance as a coach. He is riding the riding crop probably as good as a jockey can, getting his team, first of all, getting his team there, getting the team there to where they are. And, how do you bet against Jordan Binnington? That being said, Winnipeg in 6.
Yeah, listen, I mean, it
was a great sell job though on St. Louis, right?
I thought that's where you were going.
Yeah.
I think the problem is they have to get to a Game 7.
I don't think there's enough depth in St. Louis. I think when you go down the line, there's just too much firepower. The Ehlers thing is a huge issue for them. They're gonna try and slow play it, but he missed the playoffs last year, and dunk, they were gone.
Yeah, he missed 2 years ago against Vegas.
And gone. So I don't think you can downplay that in any way, shape, or form. But I think at the end of the day, I think that the Peg just has a little bit too much firepower for them.
Yeah.
If St. Louis were to go shopping and get a couple of bona fide top 6s, they're right back in the mix. Their retool, I think, was very successful.
And I'll talk about Jim Montgomery when we get a little further into this, when we talk about the Vegas series. But he's a good coach.
Yeah.
And I mean, I think the future might be bright for the Blues again. I mean, they weren't down very long. We'll put it that way. A lot quicker of a rebound than I think I and a lot of other people expected.
So even though I sold everything on St. Louis, both Chris Chapman and I have Winnipeg in 6. The Dallas Stars against the Colorado Avalanche.
Well, if you would have asked me 2 or 3 weeks ago,
nope, I'm asking you right now.
I would have gone a different direction.
Okay.
Colorado's going to kick the shit out of the Dallas Stars.
Okay.
I don't think, in fact, I think this might be the worst series of the first round. These are 2 teams that are going in completely opposite directions.
The Rantanen Bowl is not going to live up.
It's not going to live up to expectations. He's going to be packing his locker very quickly and heading back to Finland, because I just don't see any way that the Dallas Stars win this series. Listen, Jason Robertson, we probably won't know until Friday. So maybe when you're watching this, you may know how long he's going to be out for. Did not look good. Left the arena in a knee brace last night, apparently in a bit of pain. So Pete DeBoer's comments post-game led me to believe that this is not a bump. It's going to be an injury. You take out Jason Robertson. They've already been playing without Miro Heiskanen for a long, long time. I just don't think they have enough to overcome. They've what have they lost, 6 or 7 games?
7
in a row.
And they got fucking boat raced by Nashville last night.
Yeah, so I don't think that they approached that game the way the Golden Knights did last night, and that, you know what, everything's good. We're fine. Our game is where we want it to be. You lose 6 games in a row going into the playoffs. You want to win that last game because you want to find something positive to build on. And somehow, in a lot of ways, it got worse for the Dallas Stars last night because not only did they get their ass kicked, they lost Jason Robertson. Now maybe word will come out. He's not going to be out. Watch, now that I'm saying it, it'll come out that he's not going to miss any games.
He's missing some time.
You leave the game in a knee brace,
You're missing some time.
you're probably missing some time.
Yep.
And it might be significant. So I just don't see it. I think Colorado is a sleeping giant. I didn't believe it until recently. That team is good. And I think the question marks at goalie are not there. We'll have to,
We'll have to see it through.
yeah, but I think Blackwood is a guy. He's got a little playoff experience, but I think that team in front of him is so good. And they've got so many bona fide superstars. They're going to be a tough out. They're going to be a tough out for anybody. And I think for Dallas, a few weeks ago, I would have thought the Stars would have been right there.
How many games?
5.
5. I would love to try and sell you Dallas. But Ottinger has been terrible. Terrible. I'm not an Ottinger fan. Lindsey Brown slurps on him like he's the God's gift to goalie.
Well, he's from Minnesota.
And we love Lindsey and we miss her, but he's not.
Yeah.
They have, at the time where they should have been rounding into form and getting the Pete DeBoer playoff juggernaut machine revved up and going, they've been exactly the opposite. They got Taylor Seguin back, hadn't played since December, had a really nasty injury. They're not going to have Miro Heiskanen for the first round.
Right.
But losing 7 games is a fucking thing, especially those 7 games. And more than those 7 games, the manner in which they lost.
That's it. They haven't played well.
They got dog walked, boat raced, mollywomped, and every other thing Big JR from the WWE has ever talked about, an ass whipping.
Yeah.
That's how they got their ass whipped. And I don't know if it's going to be the worst of the series, but I agree with you that it is absolutely not going to be must-watch TV the way we expected this arguably to be the most competitive, fierce. The only other thing would have been, if it was Toronto-Montreal.
Right.
But Tampa, Florida, bloodbath, right? And everybody said it's Dallas and Colorado. But I think
this is what we all had circled.
Right. And I think that with the Robertson injury, I think that the odds switched significantly. I think with Robertson healthy, Dallas was still a slight favorite. But with this Robertson injury, I believe that the odds are significantly tilted that way and appropriately. So I don't think it's going to be 5 games. I think that it's going to be 6 because Pete's going to just will them, right? It's Pete. And we intimately know Pete.
I want to ask you. I've seen some stuff out there on social media that the seat is a little warm.
That's fucking stupid.
Well, let me
for
just
for Pete. You're talking about
for Pete. So here we go. This is because here's the thing. You look at Pete's career
for that reason. There's some validity to it.
As a whole,
3 years.
I don't give a shit about what he did in Florida. That was a fucking dumpster fire.
But much like Gallant, he has an expiration date. It seems like
he peaks very early in it. Took the Devils to the Stanley Cup Finals first year. Next 2 years, missed the playoffs. Fired third year. San Jose took them to a Cup Final. Lost in the first round. Lost in the second round. Lost in the conference finals. Slow start. Fired. Vegas. Western Conference Finals, lost 2 years in a row, missed the playoffs, fired.
Aberration.
I think so, right? Because pretty much that team went on to win a Stanley Cup.
Look at the body of work. It's an aberration.
But here's the thing, because I if I'm Jim Nill, I'm giving Pete at least another half a year, because he's a good enough coach. And listen, good coaches get fired in this league. Obviously, Bruce Cassidy wouldn't be with the Vegas Golden Knights if
Jake DeBrusk didn't cry like a bitch.
So I think you give him another year, because I think, he's had half the year without Mira Heiskanen. You don't know how well Mikko Rantanen adjusted, right, after coming in.
He's been okay.
But you now have a full camp of him, and
think Tomas Hertl.
Yeah.
Think the exact same thing. A hurt guy comes in, you don't really know what you have, and look, I mean, we both know that Tomas Hertl was 50% maybe when he came here.
Now,
and he manned up and played when, if it was the regular season, he clearly wouldn't have.
We've seen the very best of Tomas Hertl. So
we've seen what they traded for.
Right. My point is, you got to give it at least 30 games into next season. Listen, if you're hovering around 500 next year and you're Jim Nill,
ripcord,
you pull the trigger. But I think Pete, not that anyone is owed anything, but he's a fucking good coach. And I think they've dealt with a ton of injuries this year. I think you kind of owe it to the guy to give him, if they go out in the first round,
all bets are off.
Yeah, but I think even that.
If they go out in the first, bad, right? 5.
This is a really good team, though.
It is a really good team, and your point is absolutely legitimate. But if you look around sports, I mean, look recently the rash of firings of really good coaches in the NBA.
Yeah,
right.
Mike Malone. What the fuck?
If this is the standard now, I mean, yes, we all exist in a "what have you done for me lately" league. And yes, Pete seems to have an expiration date on every coaching job that he has. Does he deserve to be fired?
No. The
answer is absolutely not. And we have no bias. I mean, Pete was nice and he was fun when he was here, but Pete's a really good hockey coach. And, could he have lost the room in 7 games? Highly unlikely, right?
Right.
But if they get dog walked by Colorado, like you say, in 5 and 5 not competitive games, Jim Nill might feel the external pressure to bring in a new voice. Yeah. I don't think it's justified. I agree with you 100%. He needs at least half that season to next season.
Yeah, if you get to like Thanksgiving, Christmas, the team's not responding.
Right.
You have to do what you have to do.
But I am afraid in this climate
and this league, the way it operates,
the way that it operates. I mean, listen, the list is endless of coaches that got the quick hook, right?
Yeah.
I mean, the guy in St. Louis wasn't too bad, but Montgomery came available and they said, "Listen, we're sorry, fuck you, you're out."
Yeah, that's pretty much what it was. Yeah.
And there have been a number of instances where it would seem like it was a bit of a quick hook, but they have to show up.
Yeah. Well, that's it.
They have to be the Dallas Stars in this series. They may lose the series.
There may come a point when good coaches lose that ability to get the best out of a good team. And look, maybe, who knows, right? I mean, I would feel terrible if the Stars fired Pete, they bring in someone, and then they go on to win the Cup next year. Like, to me, that would be
bad. Yeah.
It would be unfair.
Yeah.
In a lot of ways.
Because he built the club.
And he's a good guy.
Yep.
So anyway, I know we don't want to spend too much. We got to move on a little bit.
Okay, so you've got 5 games.
Yes.
I've got 6, but we both are picking the Avs.
Yes, both. So we're both on the same page for both of these games or series.
Los Angeles Kings, Edmonton Oilers.
I'll make it quick. LA in 6. I just don't think the Oilers. I think mentally, I think they may have checked out against the Kings. Darnell Nurse. If he does that to Quentin Byfield in January, he's not suspended a game that he probably wasn't even going to play anyway. He's probably out 2 or 3 games for a repeat offender. I think LA's in their head, which is crazy to me because the Oilers have owned the Kings, especially in the playoffs. LA's better. I think LA's goaltending is better. I think top to bottom, the Kings are a better team. I think they have a better coach. I just think they're better than the Oilers.
So this is their year.
This is finally the year. And you know what? It might be a really, really good year for the LA Kings because I think they're a really, really good team. I think they're probably the third best team in the Western Conference.
So you've got the Kings in 6. I don't know how you bet against McDavid and Draisaitl. I think the intangibles in this series are really, really simple. If LA starts taking penalties, they're going to lose the series because they can't stop the power play. I don't know that Darcy Kemper is that much better than Stuart Skinner. LA hasn't been there, right? They
have some guys who have.
They have some guys, right? But Andrei Kopitar is 217 years old.
So is Drew Doughty.
Right, I mean, Drew Doughty's old enough that his teeth would have fallen out instead of being knocked out,
Yeah.
right? And it just seems to me that, you know, McDavid and Draisaitl have the ability to put that deeply flawed, dysfunctional team on their back. And, you know, he's the best player in the world, unquestionably.
Yeah.
Right. And I just don't, I don't know. And that being said, I'm going to take the Kings in 7.
All right. Fair enough.
Because
they're good at home.
Because I think Edmonton can win 1 game in LA, but I don't think they can win 2. And in order for them to win the series, they would have to probably win Game 7
in LA.
In LA, we're not stats people. We say that all the time. But their home record is staggering.
They were the best team at home in the NHL this year.
Okay, so for whatever reason, the Crypt is a significant comfort zone for them.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised if there was a split in the first 2 in LA and the series was a little bit back and forth.
Mm-hmm.
But at the end, defense wins championships, and the system that the LA Kings play is boring to watch, but very effective, and they score just enough, right?
Yeah. They do what they have to do to win games.
And they get just enough from their goaltending that I agree with you. I think that this is a huge disappointment for Edmonton. One period away from the Cup, right? Every accolade, they're going to win the Pacific, they're going to run, right? This, that, and the other thing, and all that tire pumping turned into flat tires because at the end of the day, they are still a deeply flawed team. They're terrible on defense, right? Their goaltending is subpar at very, very best, and they have 2 bona fide superstars that are not 100%. And you know this is their time to where they bow out. But I think it's going to take all 7 games to get there.
All right, fair enough.
Well, that leaves us one little series to talk about, Mr. Chapman.
Right.
We have the Vegas Golden Knights against the mighty Marc-Andre Fleury.
Who probably won't even play in this series.
I'll bet you he does.
That's bad news for Minnesota if he sees ice time.
Based on that premise, I agree. That's why I made my statement. So go ahead.
Well, I picked Vegas in 5, and I think here's the thing. I like the Minnesota Wild. I think they've got some really good players, dynamic players. Kirill Kaprizov is one of the most exciting players in the league. He's got the ability to steal a series.
No.
The problem is, if he's going to steal a series, it has to be against a team that is basically at the same level as the Minnesota Wild. The Vegas Golden Knights are a bunch of notches above the Minnesota Wild. The coaching advantage Vegas has in this game, you know, John Hines is one of those guys where I think hockey people think he's a good coach, but I think fans think he's a shit coach.
Right.
I lean towards the fans because he coached one of the teams that one of his stops was with the team that I follow, the New Jersey Devils. Let me run you through John Hines' history as a head coach.
Briefly.
5 years with the Devils, 4 full seasons, made the playoffs once, lost in the first round. 1 time in the playoffs. Gets fired, goes to Nashville. Lost in the qualifying round. First round loss. First round lost. He's only won 4 playoff games in his entire career. Not series, games. He's only been to the playoffs 4 times in his career. Didn't make it last year with the Wild. And his teams never finish. So he's never not made the playoffs as a wild card team. He's never finished above 4th place in his division. He's been a coach in the league for 9 years, and he's never finished above 4th place in his division. Bruce Cassidy is 10 times the coach John Hines is. The Golden Knights are better than the Wild in so many areas. Defensively, they're better. Now, I think Minnesota, I'm not going to sell them short. They're not a shit team. They just don't have the horses to keep up. Kirill Kaprizov, great player, but it's not like he missed 2 weeks. He's missed 40 games. Joel Eriksson Ek, it seemed like he went out right after Four Nations face-off. He's finally coming back. I just don't see it for the Wild. For Vegas, this was who I wanted. This was because I knew the Blues with Jim Montgomery, they can give you fits. This was the best possible scenario for the Golden Knights. I think even ahead of Calgary. This was who you wanted. I don't think this is much of a series. Minnesota will win a game, probably game 3 in Minnesota, and then the Golden Knights will take care of them in game 4, come back and win it in game 5.
It's impossible to argue any of those points. The biggest point, and I'm a Detroit guy, I've said it a million times. 2 words, Jordan rules. If they stop Kaprizov, it might not be 5.
Who do they have? Boldy?
Well,
Boldy's good.
They've got, right, but Boldy's not going to beat the Golden Knights.
Right.
Right?
And neither is the other kid the young kid.
Right.
What's his name? Bruges?
I don't know. But if we just go from the goal out, Aiden Hill against Gustafsson.
Hill.
Right? The 6 defensemen for the Golden Knights against the 6.
Vegas.
Right? 12 forwards.
Vegas.
Right? And coaching is, we're not even going to waste a sentence on the coaching after your soliloquy of smashing John Hines. So,
I don't apologize.
There's nothing.
He's not a good coach.
Why would you apologize for facts?
He's not a good coach.
I think if the Golden Knights just pick up their lunch pails and they come to work and they feel no pressure. This team has been to the wars so many times. Right? Even the pickups, right? Riley Smith coming back, been to the dance. Brandon Saad, cups, right? Even if they've got to pull along my new favorite Golden Knight, Victor Olofsson, a little bit.
Yeah.
Right? This team, this is just their time. You know, we talked about ebbs and flows and losing streaks and all that other stuff. And this machine is now ready to be turned on and into playoff mode. And they're gonna smash Minnesota. Minnesota's gonna probably get the courtesy game. And I like that the pundits, because they have to make content, are talking about, it's going to be a big, heavy physical series and this, that, and the other thing. Okay. I'm quite sure that Vegas is just fine playing that way. And if you think that you're going to intimidate them or they're going to roll over or anything like that, they're going to finesse Minnesota out of the building. I think it is a not entertaining, workman-like disposal of the Minnesota Wild, and I also think it's 5 games, but the reality of a sweep is very much there because they could, by next Tuesday night at the end of the game at 2:30 in the fucking morning or whenever we finished next Tuesday night, Minnesota might have the writing written on the wall for them. And, they might roll over and play dead. And I know NHL teams don't do that, but there does come a realization when you know that you're outmanned, outgunned, and out everything else. And I think that moment of clarity could be coming to Minnesota very, very soon.
Yeah, I just, they have players that I like. I mean, I think Brock Faber is going to be a star.
Yes.
But up and down the roster, Brazo was the guy I was trying to name, by the way. But like you look at their roster, there's not a lot of depth. Like Ryan Hartman, he's a guy who can go off the handle at any moment and get himself suspended. Foligno, big tough guy, but he's not going to beat you. You know, Vinny Hinestroza, like a guy who's journeyman.
Has-beens.
Like they're not.
It's not and it's going to sound bad. They're not a serious contender for the Cup.
No.
Right?
In fact, they're not a serious contender to win a game or series in the playoffs either.
I mean, we talk about 16 teams in the playoffs. There's maybe maybe 7 legitimate contenders. 8.
I'd have to think.
Well, I'm taking Dallas off that list.
Yeah, I think you're right.
So
Stars come off. Yeah.
Right. So we'll say Peg, Vegas, L.A.
Yeah. Edmonton, I think just based on the fact that.
I don't think so. I don't think they're a threat to win the Cup at all. So Peg, Vegas, L.A., Washington, Florida,
Colorado. Can't leave them out.
Toronto.
Yeah.
So I think of the playoff field, there's 8 teams that could conceivably go on a run and get hot enough to win the Cup. Minnesota ain't one of them.
Is Minnesota the worst team that made the playoffs?
Is Minnesota the worst team that made
like
the playoffs?
If they played St. Louis in a series, I think I would pick the Blues over Minnesota, even though St. Louis is the 8th seed.
I think that Montreal is a better story, but not I don't think Montreal beats either of the teams.
So they're like 15 or 16.
They're 13, 14, 15, 16, something like that. I hate to put your Devils in the bottom
Yeah, you know what?
four.
They might beat the Devils.
Right.
Yeah. The
So-
Devils might be the worst team in the playoffs.
So I think that Minnesota is 13, 14, 15, or 16.
Yeah.
And Vegas is, depending on your
I think
allegiances
they're
and fans,
2 or 3.
They're certainly in the top 5.
Yeah.
And not to jinx anything, but there's a certain former goaltender for the New York Rangers, dapperly dressed from Sweden.
God. I just talked about last night how I hate him. You know why I hate him? Because I'm not him. Like,
Yeah.
First of all, the guy that he's a handsome guy. He's a good looking dude. So I'm sure he's never had a problem in his life.
He's never been photographed with a neck beard.
That's true. He's never gone on television with the neck beard.
Thank you for that. By the way.
Now, I wonder when they made their run to the Cup final if he had the neck beard. I'll have to go back, but nonetheless, he's always very well dressed.
Yep.
He's a Hall of Fame player.
Yep.
Outside of not winning the Stanley Cup,
He's everything.
he's done he's everything.
Yeah.
You know, like I'm sure he could have modeled if he wanted to. Now I'm going to stop that, but
Yeah.
like.
But he picked
I like him
He picked Vegas last night on the post game show
to win the Cup.
to win it all.
I could see it.
And all the fence riders missed the net and Ace and all those other guys,
Yeah.
right? Nobody wanted to make a prediction. He said, "Listen, this is what they do. They defend the center of the ice better than anybody else,
Yeah.
and they can score. And they've already got a goaltender who's been to the top of the mountain, and he went out before the regular season was even over, and he picked Vegas. Right? I got it on my DVR or digital, however you tape stuff on your TV now.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Listen, I don't care who they played if they make the final. Like to me, Vegas Toronto would be fucking amazing.
you know what we want, really, though?
Yeah, we want Washington.
No, we want Florida.
Yeah.
Because if we get Florida, you know what we get.
Well, I don't get it because my company doesn't send me. But.
Well, but you know who we get on the podcast?
Oh yeah, that's right. I don't remember her name,
Serena.
but Serena. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Folks, wait. If we get a Florida or a Tampa Vegas Golden Knights finals, we have the greatest treat for all of you. And I'm not even gonna hint it because I don't want to jinx it. But we met a gal in the press box during the Edmonton
And
Winnipeg
yeah.
go round, who does a podcast on Florida NHL hockey, and she's beautiful and she's incredibly well spoken and she knows the game inside and out.
Yeah, but she fits right in with two degenerates like us.
But she curses just like us. And ladies and gentlemen, we've already made an agreement with her. If it's a Vegas versus either of the Florida teams, that we're going to flip flop and do each other's podcast. So that's what I want. Yes. For theater, Washington. For hockey, Toronto.
Yeah.
But secretly, because I've been to homes, I did the Florida thing a couple years ago.
Yeah.
And it's kind of fun.
Well, you were there yesterday.
and yeah, I was there yesterday.
In your Real Madrid shirt.
Yeah.
Guys coming up to you asking you about the team.
Yeah, and it's funny. It's funny because when I laid over in Detroit on the way to Vegas, because for those of you who are not geography students, Detroit is definitely a straight line between Miami and Vegas.
Delta hub. Yeah.
Thanks, Delta. Yeah, even in the layover for an hour, they're like, "Oh man, sorry about Real." And
Yeah.
I'm like, "Oh man."
I like when you text me. You're like, "Hey, tell me about the team." Well, they have this guy named Mbappe. Oh, I know who he is.
Kylian Mbappe. He was the star for the French World Cup.
Yeah.
Listen, I know a little bit about it. I'm not a junkie like you are, but I like purple. And
I like purple too.
And Adidas put out the Real Madrid purple kit, and I bought it.
Yeah.
But yeah. So and anyway, those are our predictions. Sadly, the West wasn't as divided as the East was, but it still makes for some good competition. We'd like all of you to join us. Put your comments. Who's going to win the 8 first round series? We need all the winners, and we need in how many games it's going to go. This competition is for dinner, either at Juan's Flaming Fajitas or at the El Dorado Cantina. Let's have some fun with it. We're going to ride this competition out until the Golden Knights hoist the cup or are eliminated. I want to thank our sponsors, as always, the Las Vegas Advisor at lasvegasadvisor.com, Dr. John Pierce at agelessforever.net, and by Joe Riccio and Boris at marathonlawgroup.com. Thanks to all of you for watching and for subscribing and liking. Take a minute and give us your picks, because we'd like to take somebody else to dinner. It was a lot of fun. With that, episode 107 is in the books. I can't tell you when 108 is going to happen, because we've got to go look at calendars and schedules, but we'll be with you every week through the playoffs. And we look forward to talking to you again soon. 107's in the book. We are out of here.